The A Lange and Sohne catalog is the first catalog I ever got, and because of it, I got so many more. So why did I call this catalog the best one I have? Let's begin with the packaging. Here's the box the catalog came in. As you can see, it's a spectacular box. Everything is custom made for Lange, from the stamp to the box to the writing on the inside of the flap. It is a spectacular box. When you open the box, out comes the catalog. Inside the front cover of the catalog is a little letter from customer care, a bit about the new watch collections, and a very nice price list that actually fits inside the catalog. Yes, the price list fits inside the catalog, unlike many other catalogs that come with a price list, and it's easy to put it in and close it and forget about it. Now let's go on to the physical attributes of the catalog itself. The front cover is a hardcover, and it's a nice hardcover, but I would say that the cover is this catalog's one weakness, and I'll talk about it later. Moving on inside the catalog, the pages are all nice and thick, and they have a wonderful ink. It's really high quality, and how can they offer this for free? I have no idea. But they do, and it's easy to order online. You just go online, order a catalog, you give your address and email and some others. You basically just give your address and they'll send you one. And it's really wonderful. They have plenty of metallic inks, you have nice thick pages. The pages themselves are, well, they're not high glossy, but they're sort of lustery, if you know what I mean. They're very nice. One thing that stands out about this catalog is just how tall it is. I mean, I don't think I have any other catalog that is quite this tall and narrow. But it works. It works. And I don't know if any other company could make it work, but it really fits Lange, and it's a wonderful book to have as a coffee table book. Now, this catalog also has plenty of large color photos, and they're very high quality. And they really show off Lange's finishing, which is of course spectacular. I mean, the finishing of Lange is the reason you get a Lange. The finishing on the movement is absolutely superb, and there's not much more you could ask for. So this catalog starts out with a few pages on Lange's history. This book is the 2019-2020 collection book, and it focuses on the 25th anniversary of the re-emergence of Lange after a lot of years of being merged in with all the other German watchmakers. And then we begin with the collection. Now first is the Lange 1. And the Lange 1 in general is possibly Lange's most signature watch. Maybe except for something like the Datograph Perpetual, but we'll get to that later. The Lange 1 really causes me to pause and think, why does everyone call this watch, this brand, such a German brand, with a focus on readability and simpleness and clarity and just perfection, when the Lange 1, Lange's signature piece, is all over the place. The dial consists of numerous dials and subdials, and I mean, the seconds is offset, the main hour and minute register is small and hard to read, and it's still very much German, which is interesting because it feels so German, while at its core, just when you look at it, it would appear to be a cluttered mess, but it's not. And the fact that it still is very German causes me to stop and think, what does being German in terms of watches mean? Now, the Lange one, they came out with a 25th anniversary edition, which is very nice and all. It's got a bunch of blue on the dial and blued hands, and everything is blue. Now we move through the Lange 1 collection and we get to the Lange 1 time zone. Now, I usually dislike time zone watches with all the cities on a sort of bezel inside the dial, on a ring in the dial. I don't like them. But this watch, especially the movement and the dial, it just works, and it shows, for me at least, the reason for having a catalog in the first place: to discover new things about a company, to really see what they have and to delve deep into their collection. And we get to the Zeitwerk. Now, the Zeitwerk is their mechanical digital watch. Mechanical digital watches have existed before, but Lange really makes the best ones. And the technology of the mechanism of how they do it is really, really interesting. And it's a really nice watch. It really has a good design. It works, and I really like it. It's one of my favorite watches from the collection. Now, the really nice Zeitwerks are the striking Zeitwerks, the repeater Zeitwerks. And Lange has 3 of them. The striking time, which is a quarter repeater, the decimal strike, which strikes the hours and decimals, and the minute repeater. Now, I was thinking about this, and actually I got this thought from a book on minute repeaters that I was reading. And it's, why do people make minute repeaters that strike quarters? Why? It just doesn't make any sense, because we tell time in terms of decimals. But what if it was, say, 23 past 7? It would be 1 quarter and then 8 minutes, and I would have to add them. While with a decimal, I would just hear 2 gongs for the decimal. That would be 20 minutes, and then 3 minutes, and that would make life a whole lot easier. Now, the Zeitwerk date is their 10th anniversary special for the Zeitwerk. It's the 10th anniversary of the Zeitwerk. Now, here's something interesting, this German perfection we hear about all the time. So the 25th anniversary of the Lange 1, on the big date, there's a 25 for a 25th anniversary. Here on the Zeitwerk, which is a date, and it's the new Zeitwerk, it has a date, and I really like how the date works, it's all great. But they highlight the date. The highlighted date is 12. Why didn't they make it 10 for 10th anniversary? It's a bit interesting, isn't it? And next, after the Zeitwerk, we have the Saxonia, which really, I think, shows the range of Lange and what Lange is capable of doing. We start with the cheapest, the base Saxonia, and we go on to some of the most expensive and most incredible watches. The last one in this catalog is the triple split. How can one series of watches go from the Saxonia to the triple split? People tend to say that the Saxonia, the base Saxonia, the cheapest Lange model, has equally good finishing and everything is equally good to the other Langes. And in terms of movement finishing, they're absolutely right. Now, there is one little caveat to that. You see the movement? Now, a really good watch will have the movement fitted to the case very well, so that when you look on the underside of the watch, there's really not much metal, you just see the big movement. The Saxonia, at least as it appears on this catalog, has a pretty big bezel around the movement compared to other Langes. Something to keep in mind. We move on to the watch that got me into Lange. The Datograph Perpetual is what showed me what Lange does and what they're capable of. It is just spectacular. The dials and sub-dials and everything. It's an incredible watch. Lange 31. 31 days of power reserve. So you wind this watch with a key, which makes me wonder, can you wind it with a crown? If you can, then no complaints, but if you cannot, then that's a bit of a disappointment for me as someone who, even with my really cheap mechanical watches, I really like to just wind the crown, just for fun. It really is something that I would miss on the Lange 31. The triple split is something that is probably not necessary and nobody would use. I mean, why do you need split hours, rattrapant hours on a chronograph? Why? There's no reason. I understand split seconds and I do understand split minutes, but split hours just shows how crazy Lange can get. The 1815 is Lange's classic watch, and just noting the basic 1815, just time only, small seconds, kind of like the base Saxonia, where is it? Now, personally I prefer the 1815, of course, for the dial, for the blued hands and the Arabic numbers. But notice how the movement on this watch, which is a basic watch, is far better fitted to the watch than the Saxonia. And again, the 1815 series becomes quite crazy when you go up. 1815 Tourbillon has some pretty big jewels on the movement. I don't know if that's really necessary, but it sure looks nice. The Richard Lange collection is also pretty unique. The Tourbillon pour le Mérite has this cutout in the hour register that fills up with the rest of the hours that are missing when the hour hand moves to that hour, moves to, moves past the 7th hour, moves to the 8th hour. This is certainly not necessary. They could have done many other things, but it really shows Lange's skill. I mean, how complicated a mechanism can be that flies a big disc into position and out of position on these random hours. It's not like half the time it's here, half the time it's here. No, it's like for 3 hours or something, it's up and then 9 hours down. It's really crazy. And then we move from one of the most technically demanding watches with the tourbillon and that crazy hour register to one of the most beautiful. The Terra Luna is absolutely spectacular. The back, I mean, it shoves all the mechanisms to one side. You can still see them and they're still beautiful and amazing. And you get this big disc with the moon phase and Earth, but something about it, it's just mesmerizing. And there the catalog ends. Now, my one negative, the cover. How can a hardcover binding on a catalog be a negative? How can a hardcover on a free catalog, not just a catalog, but a free catalog that they sent to me from Germany, paid a bunch of money for postage and for that special box and everything, be a negative? Well, it is. Now, I did get many other catalogs, and quite a few of the hardcover ones have a better hardcover than this. Now, the texture on the hardcover, nothing bad with that. The hardcover finishing, so to speak, nothing bad at all. It's just that it's a bit flimsy. It feels a bit, just a tad too thin, I don't know how to say it. It's already got a crease and I don't even know how that happened. Might have sat on it, but still, it shouldn't crease this easily in sort of this ugly crease. It's not a regular crease, and it makes the whole catalog a bit flimsy, and pretty much all of my other hardcover catalogs aren't this flimsy. This is something that, in my opinion, relates to the one negative thing about Lange watches in general, which is the case. The insides, spectacular, nothing to complain, wonderful. The best ever. but the case. I mean, they take some of the most beautiful and astounding movements and dials and everything, and they put it in this slab-sided, sort of squarish case with those thick lugs, and I just don't like it. They're taking a really refined, elegant watch and putting it in a thick, ugly case. Now, they can make a nice case. What's it called? The new dive watch they came out with recently, the dive watch they said they wouldn't ever come out with, but they did. That has a wonderful case, just absolutely amazing. Sure, the lugs are a little bit too wide for the watch and some other little details, but overall, that case, it pops. It has this sort of Lange design that I want from a case, and these cases, it doesn't detract anything from the dial or the movement or anything, but it doesn't add anything. It's sort of just there. It's just part of getting a Lange watch is that you get a boring case that doesn't add anything to the watch. It could with the dive watch. It really adds. It really makes it nice. So I know that they can make a nice case. Now the question is, why don't they do it with these? Now, overall, my verdict on this catalog is that it is the best catalog I have. What elevates this catalog is that it's sort of more than a catalog. They could have had a small soft cover book with the same quality ink and everything, and it would have been fine, but something about it, whether it's the box, whether it's how tall it is, it elevates it from a catalog into a picture book presenting their catalogs. The fact that they have an order form on their website and everything shows that it's more than just selling the watch. It's more about preserving watchmaking history, and it's more about sort of a show-off act. And so, Lange. The company, I think, is really good because yes, you're paying so much money for a watch, but you do get that finishing, you do get that spectacular engraving and the striping and the chatons and the blued screws and everything that does make it worth it. Every watch, pretty much, in my opinion, is worth it, and this catalog is certainly worth getting. And that's about all I've got. It's a great catalog, great company. Although I don't like the cases of the watches, I'd certainly get a Lange if I had the money. Thanks for watching the video to the end. If you liked it, please subscribe and like the video. Perhaps consider supporting me on Patreon. Any support would be greatly appreciated. I will be coming out with catalog collectors once a week for the foreseeable future. Of course, until I run out of catalogs. We'll see what happens then. See you in the next one.